the ear will make a hole and some pus will come out, but sometimes it'll just resolve the problem by taking the waste away through the bloodstream. The other place that you can use the cooked onion is on a boil. It's very effective on the boil. The heat from the onion and the drawing powers of the onion will bring all the waste to a head. One lady told me she steamed up the onion, she cut it in half, and when it was just the right temperature, she just put it straight on the boil. Remember, it'll be soft because it's been cooked, and then cover that, tape it on or bandage it on, and ideally you would leave that for maybe overnight or most of the day. Leave it on as much as you can. When the onion is taken off, usually the boil is open and everything comes out. If it's still sore and everything doesn't come out, then maybe you've got the other half onion still on the stove and you can put that one on. Do it as long as it takes. It's not the same with the earache. You apply it for as long as it takes until the relief is found. So the cooked onion can be used for an earache and it can be used for a boil. Now we're going to have a look at the raw onion. The raw onion can be used in a few ways, and usually it's used by slicing it or chopping it. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to finely slice the onion, and I'm going to show you how you can make a poultice for a sore throat. The world is all abuzz at the moment around COVID, and these things I'm showing you, some of them are very good to bring relief to the symptoms of COVID. But please remember that 99% of people that get COVID recover. And that's a good thing to remember, because God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. So you've got nothing to fear from COVID, as long as you handled it right. Remember, 99% of people recover. Now, what I've done here is I have put the onion, the sliced onion, in the middle of a cloth, and then I'm going to wrap the cloth over like so. And the area that has one slice of cloth, I will put that on my throat, and then I will put maybe some cling wrap around it, or maybe just a woolly scarf. And you can go to bed with that the onion poultice on your throat. The onion will penetrate very deep through the skin and will bring relief to the sore throat. Now I'm going to show you what to do if someone has a bad cough. If someone has a bad cough, you can chop the onion up into little squares, and you can put it in 2 plastic bags, 1 for each foot. Chop it up nice and finely. 1 for 1 foot and 1 for the other foot. So I'm chopping up the raw onion, and I'm getting a plastic bag. I have a plastic bag here. I'm opening it. Now, if you would prefer not to have the plastic on your skin, you can put a cloth in there, and then you put the chopped onion into the bag. I'm putting it into the cloth that's in the bag. Now, what happens next is the foot. The foot goes on the onion. So you pretend this is a foot. You put the foot on the onion, wrap the cloth over, and then wrap the bag over, and then twist it around, and then put a sock on. So the bottom of the feet are touching the chopped onion. And the biggest pores in the body are on the soles of your feet. So when you put the foot on the chopped onion, and remember the other foot goes in the other bag, and then put a sock on and sleep with it all night. It is quite incredible. If someone has a bad cough, they won't cough all night with the onion on the bottom of their feet. It certainly will not hurt them. One lady told me that she was camping and the lady next door coughed all night. So the next day she came to her. They were intense. And she said to her, I see you've got a cough. And the lady was very embarrassed. And my friend said, do you mind if I try something? And she said, please. She had onions. She had a plastic bag. So she put the onion in the bag. The lady put her feet in the bag on the onion, as I showed you. The lady did not cough all night long. I believe that God gave us these natural remedies, not just to bring relief, which of course is important, but what you will find when these natural remedies work and they bring relief to the people now have confidence in you, and it's not uncommon that you can begin to talk to them about spiritual things. We have found that that has happened again and again. Now I'm going to show you how you can make a cough mixture. All you need is a jar here, and we're going to put a layer of onion in the jar. And you'll see that I've put approximately a ½ inch of onion in the jar. And then I'm going to drizzle honey over it. Probably about a teaspoon of honey. And now I'm going to put another layer of onion on. And what you do is you layer the onion and the honey, until you fill the jar. A little bit more onion in, and then a little bit more honey. So it's about a ½ inch of onion and approximately a teaspoon of honey. Now we're putting another layer on. And again, you just keep layering it until you've got no more onion left. And the jar is full. And that's usually left for 24 hours. After 24 hours, you can strain it and keep it in the fridge. And it'll keep for a long time because honey does not deteriorate. So I've got a little bit more here to do. So we've got our ½ inch and then a little bit more honey. So what's the dose? For an adult, it might be a teaspoon 3 times a day. For a child, it might be ½ a teaspoon 3 times a day. For a little tiny baby, it might be a tiny little quarter of a teaspoon 3 times a day. So if someone's got a cold, then you can give them the onion syrup. I'm also making this as one of the first demonstrations because by the end of our demonstration this evening, the syrup will begin to form. And you can tell what's the syrup because the syrup is quite clear and runny compared to the thick, sticky onion. So there's my final layer on top. And the final, because it's the final layer, I think I might put 2 teaspoons of honey on the top of there. And now we let that sit. And within easy ½ an hour, you can see a syrup forming. Now I can put that on the side, but there is no syrup. It's just the thick honey. So that's the onion syrup. I noticed that my castor oil compress is such that it's soaked through. I wanted to show you how you need to leave it a little bit of time. Now, it seems I've only done the middle part of the compress. When that goes onto your skin, it will thin your warm body will thin the oil and it'll spread out a little bit more. Every day you might put another teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of oil on it. You will get to feel that it is starting to dry out. Now we're going to have a look at at garlic. And I'm so sure everyone knows garlic. Garlic is a potent antibiotic, and garlic can be used in a recipe called a flu bomb. So I trust you've all got your pencils and papers with you. So let me give you the recipe for the flu bomb. The flu bomb is garlic. And if I was making it for a 10-year-old, I might use a little clove. If I was making it for me, I might use the big clove. And you crush the garlic and you put it in a mug or a cup. So there are 6 ingredients. There's garlic and ginger. And with the ginger, you do a very fine grate with the ginger. So this is a very fine grate here. Here. Yep, that's a fine grate. So you finely grate the ginger, and that's about 1/4 teaspoon. So a clove of garlic and 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. They're the first 2 ingredients. The next ingredients is cayenne pepper, and as much as you dare. Maybe for the 10-year-old, there'd be a light sprinkle. I can handle maybe 1/3 teaspoon. So the amount for cayenne, as much as you dare. Maybe between 1/4 and 1/2 teaspoon. The next ingredient is eucalyptus oil, or you could use tea tree oil, and it's 1 drop, just 1 drop. So that's the first 4 ingredients: ginger, garlic, ginger, cayenne pepper, and eucalyptus oil. The last 2 are easy. It's the juice of a lemon and a teaspoon of honey. So we've got garlic, ginger, cayenne pepper, 1 drop of eucalyptus oil or tea tree oil, lemon, and honey. And then you add about 1/2 cup of hot water. That's called the flu bomb. So if you have a cold or a cough or pneumonia or bronchitis or a flu or the COVID, any respiratory problem, take 3 a day. Often within 3 days, your problem is over. At the same time, it's important to go to bed early. At the same time, it's important to exercise, have fresh air, eat very lightly while you have the cold, and you will recover. You'll recover very well, because remember, the body's designed to heal itself. But you can't give that to a baby, can you? So what you can do with a baby is you can finely slice the garlic, which I'm about to do now. You finely slice the garlic and you can place slices on the bottom of the feet. You can do this for a little baby. You can do it for a toddler. I used to do it to my son, who often used to get bad colds. And every time, everywhere he walked, he'd be crushing that garlic into the bottom of his feet. So I've got that ready, and I'm going to finely slice the garlic now. So I've got a few fine slices of garlic, and I've cut up a piece of cloth into a strip like this. And now I'm going to apply the fine slices onto the cloth. And now I'm going to fold the cloth over. And again, we're going to pretend that my hand is the foot. And now I'm going to wrap it around the bottom of the foot. So you wrap it onto the bottom of the baby's foot, and then you put the little sock on or the little bootie on, which will hold it in place. Please note that the garlic is not touching the foot. The garlic will blister the skin if it touches the skin. The onion will not. You could put your foot straight onto the onion, but the garlic needs a piece of cloth between it, and then you bind that to the bottom of the little one's foot. I used to leave it on my son all day. You could leave it on the little one all night. Within 2 minutes, you can smell the garlic on the breath, because remember, the biggest pores in the whole of the body are on the soles of the feet. Now we're going to have a look at ginger. Ginger is a herb that can reduce inflammation in the body, and ginger can be used internally and externally. Internally, it can be used for nausea. If someone has nausea and you make them a ginger tea, or even put a little bit of ginger in their mouth and suck on it, it can help to stop the nausea. How you make the ginger tea is you grate the ginger on this very small grater and then pour boiling water on it and just let it sit for about 10 minutes until it cools a little and then drink it. To me, that is a very delicious tea. You can also give someone a hot ginger tea if they are cold, if they got very, very cold and they need warming up. Now I'm going to show you how to make a ginger poultice. I've folded over some cling wrap several times to make a square. So I've got a square about this size. I put that down and now I'm taking a cloth. Now this is the size that I usually do cloths. That would be about 10 inches by 10 inches. And you lay that down, and I like to use a cotton cloth, best to use the natural fiber. And now I'm going to grate some ginger. And I'm using that little small one there. And I'm going to grate up, maybe 2 teaspoons. When you're making the ginger tea, you usually do 1 teaspoon to 1 cup. If that's too strong for you, just add a bit more hot water. But I myself like it very hot. Why am I making a ginger poultice? A bit noisy here, so I'll just finish grating before I tell you. I'm making a ginger poultice for some inflamed joints. So you get the ginger out of the grater and you spread it out a little bit. If this was going to really be used by someone, I'd probably use a little bit more, but it's a little bit noisy. So for purposes of illustration, we're just making a smaller amount. So you can see how much I've got here. And now I'm going to make the poultice. And to make the poultice, I say you fold over east and west and then north and south. So you see what I'm doing? I'm folding it over to make a little package. And that little package is our poultice. So now we're folding it over like this. And I've got a few layers on top, but if I turn it around, can you see the yellow juice that's coming out from the ginger? And now I place it on the plastic. Now you will see that the plastic is about 1/2 inch around the whole poultice. And the reason for that is we don't want the air to chill the poultice. We don't want it to chill. And also it protects clothing from maybe being soiled from the ginger poultice. Ginger is used for joint inflammation. So it's easy to remember, ginger is for joint. So that can be used for gout. It can be used for arthritis. It can be used for a painful knee, or it can be used for a painful lower back. Now, let's just say that I have a painful arthritic wrist. So here is the amount of ginger that I've got. So I put it on the area like this. And I just check to make sure the plastic is covering it all the way around. And then I'll bandage that on. Now, if someone has a very painful joint, arthritic or gout, I put it on about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If it's very inflamed, the skin will get hot. And some people say, the skin is burning. And I say, it may feel like that, but it won't burn. But if you can't handle it, we can certainly take it off. Why does the skin burn when you put the ginger poultice on? It's drawing the inflammation out of the joint to the skin. So if you have a very inflamed joint, it is best to use this poultice maybe for 2 hours a day. If you were to use it morning and night and change it again the next morning and then change it again at lunchtime, often the skin can become irritated because of the inflammation that's being pulled out of the joint. But we've seen people get huge amount of relief because once that inflammation is pulled out of the joint, then the joint is no longer painful. Or the pain, in fact, some people have told me that the pain has reduced sometimes 50 or 60%. Now, if you visit someone who has a very painful joint, you can even make up the poultice, and if they can't use it right now, you can fold it over like that and put it into a little bag. Obviously, it is best made fresh, but it wouldn't matter if it was made 4 or 5 hours before it was being used, but it really would not be any good the next day. Because it's grated vegetable matter, once you've used it, when you take it off, you discard it. And when you take the ginger poultice off, then you rinse the area with cold water and then leave it. One lady said that when she took her ginger poultice off, then she put the castor oil poultice on. So you certainly can do that. So ginger is for joint. Now we're going to have a look at cayenne pepper. Can you get me a potato? Cayenne pepper is a remarkable herb. Yeah, kitchen. Cayenne pepper is a remarkable herb. Some people question cayenne pepper because cayenne pepper is a stimulant, but it's not a nervous system stimulant like alcohol is, like caffeine is. It is a blood stimulant, and Leviticus 17:11 says the life of the flesh is in the blood. So anything that moves blood helps with the healing. The cayenne pepper can be used externally and it can be used internally. If someone has cold feet, you cannot put those cold feet into a bucket. So how can we warm up the feet? We can make a compress with it. So to make a compress, we get some paper see, this is the size of a foot. And then we've got a double layer. This is just kitchen paper that I've used here. And again, you make it so that the plastic is a little bit bigger than the paper. And we're going to put a little olive oil on that. Only a little. We only put a little on because a little bit is necessary so that the cayenne pepper will stick to it. So I just sprinkle a little bit of oil on the paper. You could use any oil, but I guess my favorite is olive oil. But whatever oil you're able to get, you can use. And I'll spread that over so it's a little oily. You don't want this paper too oily because it'll leak. So you can see I've lightly spread it there. And now I'm going to put cayenne pepper on it. And I'm going to put about a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And the oil really is just there to hold the cayenne pepper so it won't fall off. So I'm putting about half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper on the castor oil compress. So it basically looks like this. That's about a half a teaspoon. And then the foot is put straight on that. And then a sock can go over that. What the plastic does is it protects the sock or the bed. It's a good time to wear it is overnight because overnight it doesn't matter, but it'd be a bit hard to walk in this through the day. So the oil, again, I haven't used a lot of oil. So you can see I can hold that right upright and it won't fall off because it's stuck to the oil. That can certainly be made ahead of time, folded over, and then it can be, you know, you could make a few of those ahead of time to help for someone who has cold feet. Cayenne pepper will bring life back into feet because it's a blood stimulant. So if someone has cold feet or no feeling in their feet, no feeling in the feet is peripheral neuropathy. So if someone has no feeling in their feet and they go to bed with a cayenne compress on each foot, by morning, often they've got pins and needles. That's the first sign of life coming back into the foot. So any part of the body that has no feeling, the cayenne pepper compress can be applied. Cayenne pepper can be applied to any part of the body that lacks feeling. If someone has cold feet and they go to bed with a cayenne pepper compress on their feet, by morning their feet are usually warm. If I went to bed with a cayenne pepper compress on my feet, I think by morning I'd be ripping off the compress because my feet would be too hot, because I make sure that my feet are kept warm. Ellen White says perfect health requires perfect circulation. And perfect circulation means the whole body is warm. It should be the same temperature. When the body's warm, it means there's good blood flow going through the body. If the feet are cold, it means there's not a lot of blood going through. And if the feet are allowed to stay cold, then eventually after several months, even a year or two, then the toes start to go numb. And when the toes start to go numb, it basically means the toes may be starting to die. And we do not want that. Cayenne pepper can also be used internally. Internally, it can be taken to boost digestion. It can be taken to soothe a sore throat. Remember, it's in our flu bomb. It can also be used to thin the blood. We have a lot of our guests come to our retreat on blood thinners. They choose to stop the blood thinners and start taking the cayenne pepper. How much would you take of the cayenne pepper? And make sure that cayenne pepper is nice and red. We don't want old brown cayenne pepper. How much would you take? You could start with 1/4 teaspoon in a little water 3 times a day and build up to 1/2 teaspoon in a little water 3 times a day. Cayenne pepper thins the blood. Cayenne pepper strengthens the arterial walls, and cayenne pepper opens the blood vessels, so you've got a better delivery of flow of blood all through the body. It certainly is a remarkable herb. If you're familiar with the book Back to Eden by Jethro Kloss, he devotes 1/2 page to every herb, but 10 pages to cayenne pepper. He thinks it's one of the most remarkable herbs that there is. Now we're going to have a look at the potato. Whereas the ginger is used for joint inflammation, the potato is used for tissue inflammation. So we have our plastic down and we have our cloth again. And where would we have tissue inflammation? Tissue inflammation may be on a sprained ankle. It might be on an ingrown toenail. It could be in a splinter that one couldn't get out and it's sealed over and it's red and raised. I'll just grate it quickly and I won't talk till I finish grating. So we've grated the potato and that's on a slightly bigger grater. It's important not to grate too much because there's nothing worse than leaking potato juice everywhere. And I've grated this on a slightly bigger grater. So you can see that's the grated potato. And again, I will make the poultice by making a little package. So I'll fold over and fold over. Remember, north, south, east and west. And then I fold over again. And then I turn over my poultice. And you can see the juice starting to come through there. And again, it's got a nice surround of plastic there. This grated potato can be put on a swollen eye, it can be put on conjunctivitis, red eyes. This poultice can be put on a sprained ankle. It can be put on any area that's red, raised, inflamed. This is for tissue inflammation, whereas the ginger is for joint inflammation. Some people say, well, I've got a sore knee. So what do I do? You could try potato one night, ginger one night, castor oil another night. They all do slightly different things, and you might find one better than the other, or you might find they'll all do something. Now you see the juice is starting to come out there. And the beauty of the poultice is when you take it off, you can just discard it. The grated vegetable matter always needs to be discarded. You would put the grated ginger on the joint, but you would put the grated potato on tender parts of the body. If in doubt, use the potato. It's very soothing and cooling. Let's have a look at our onion syrup. Can you see that we're starting to have a little bit of runny syrup there? And that's probably only about half an hour. So if you had someone who had a bad cough, in half an hour you'd have a bit of syrup. But ideally, you let it sit for 24 hours before you totally strain it and discard the onion. Now we're going to have a look at charcoal. Charcoal has been used for a long time, and charcoal has the ability to adsorb poisons. Adsorb means it binds the molecular structure of the poisons to its molecular structure. It has lots of surface areas. Under a microscope, it's got surface areas like this, and it binds the poisons to those surface areas. The binding of the poisons to these surface area is called adsorb. So charcoal adsorbs. In medicine today, they're using charcoal to filter blood before dialysis. NASA uses charcoal to filter the water in outer space. It uses charcoal to filter the air in outer space. Medicine is also using charcoal in cases of poisoning. A lot of people that travel to Asia travel with charcoal tablets, because if they get diarrhea or vomiting and they take the charcoal, it will ease the problem. So you can use charcoal internally for poisoning, for diarrhea, for vomiting, and you can use it externally. Where you would use it externally would be in cases of poisoning again. So that might be a snake bite, a bee sting, a wasp bite, an ant bite. When you apply this, the pain goes almost straight away. It's quite incredible. So I'm going to show you a mess-free way to make the charcoal poultice. We've got a little snap lock bag here. Now, when you mix charcoal with water, it's like mixing dirt with water. It doesn't mix very well. And what I'm going to mix it with is psyllium. Psyllium, when you put water with it, it goes like a gel. So I'm going to put a teaspoon or a spoonful of psyllium into my bag, and I'm going to put 3 spoonfuls of charcoal. So that's 1, 2, 3. This was to be the mess-free way. And then I'm going to seal it, and I'm going to mix that very well together, so that when I add the water, it's going to mix nicely. So I mix the charcoal and the psyllium together. And now that I've mixed it quite well together, I'm going to put some water in there. And you put about 3 times the water in that you put the dry ingredients. And you seal that up. So that's sealed now. That's the beauty of the Snap-Lock bag, is it's sealed. And now I'm just going to massage this, and it's going to go like a soft gel. And when it goes like a soft gel, I can press it out to make up most of the bag. What I will do when I'm able to press it out, when it starts to gel, I'll spread it out so it takes up the whole bag. And now I've got a thin strip or a thin square of charcoal. And that can be put in the fridge. And so you've got this thin square. And then if someone has a bee sting or a snake bite, you just quickly go in here or get it out of the fridge. And then you get scissors and you cut a corner. You might just cut that corner, cut around the edge, peel the plastic off the top, and just put this black charcoal gel straight onto the wound. When you do that, you've got instant relief. It's cold because it's been in the fridge, or you might even keep it in the freezer. It's starting to gel just a little bit now. So if I was a little bit more careful, I wouldn't even have any on my fingers. But that's the mess-free way to do it. I think every home should have a few packets of these little charcoal poultices in their fridge and in their freezer. And now we're able to spread that out. So can you see it's quite thin? It's gone like a soft jelly, and that can go in the fridge. And then you cut out the area that you want. When there's a crisis with someone with a bee sting or a wasp bite or a snake bite. And so we come to an end on our Natural Remedies seminar. And I trust you've learned what you can do in a situation where someone's got an ache or a pain or a discomfort. Remember, the body can heal itself, and it will heal itself if you give it the right conditions. So what we've mostly covered here today are some of the simple remedies that we have found in our retreat, and then in my role as a mother and now as a grandmother with all my little grandchildren, that every time you apply these simple treatments, you're teaching them. So you're giving them a wonderful skill that they can take all through life. Would you like me to end in prayer?
Yes, please.
Father in heaven, we thank you so much for your goodness and mercy. We thank you for the body that's been designed to heal itself. We thank you for the simple treatments that, when applied correctly and with the blessing of heaven, can do a powerful effect to bring relief. Father, we know we are living in the last days. We know there is much trouble on the planet, but we thank you for these simple remedies. And it is our prayer, Father, that as we share and administer these natural remedies, that hearts will be softened to want to know the great God of heaven who gave us the remedies and gave us this body. We thank you now for hearing our prayer, Father, for we prayed in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. There are a few questions in the comments. I can read the first one that we have. Can the ginger poultice be used for DVT?
No, the best thing for DVT would be to be taking, and of course this is more clots in the blood, the cayenne pepper. take the cayenne pepper internally and put the cayenne pepper on the part of the leg or area where the problem is.
And our next question is, what can one use for fluid or water retention in legs and feet?
For water and fluid retention in the feet, sometimes it can be due to dehydration. When someone has such a problem, it's important not to drink a whole lot of water at once, but to have water little by little, and ideally 8 glasses a day, but little by little over the day. They also need to put their feet up through the day. And if they are able to get a trampoline or a little rebounder, that helps to disperse the fluid.
Wonderful. I think maybe just for some clarity, maybe we can use the next 8 minutes for question and answer, if that's okay. It's 8:02 p.m. here. We can take 8 minutes for question and answer, if that's okay with you. So the next question is, could you open the bag and scoop some charcoal and put it back in the fridge for later use?
Yes, you can, but you don't scoop it out. You keep the bag shut and you just cut a corner. So you would just cut the area that you need. It'll all stay in place because it's like a soft gel.
Mm-hmm. Kindly comment on how to relieve very painful period cramps.
To relieve very painful period cramps, it is a hormonal imbalance. And so that balance has to be restored. And you can see a lecture that I give on YouTube called Balancing of the Hormones. So, you know, it's not much that can be done immediately because the problem is an imbalance. And so if the person watches my lecture on the hormones, they will find out how you can restore balance.
Can castor oil be used for bone fractures?
For bone fractures, it will help. It will not be quick, but it will help to boost healing in that area.
Is there any chance that the juice from a garlic poultice can burn the feet of a baby?
Yes, but I have found if you have the cloth in between the slices of garlic and the skin, I have done it many times and it does not burn.
Thank you. And our final question is how to heal dry eyes?
There are a couple of things you can do for dry eyes. The grated potato poultice can bring relief, but a drop of castor oil just wiped over the eyelid. So if you wipe the castor oil over the eyelid and the lashes, it will penetrate through to the eye and can bring relief. And that can be applied a couple of times a day.
Two more have come in. Is steaming with eucalyptus crystals effective for colds or COVID?
Remember that the COVID is really just a flu, so anything that would help a flu will help the COVID symptoms. And definitely when you put your head over boiling water with eucalyptus oil and breathe it in, that can certainly bring some relief.
And the final question, what natural remedy can one use in treating Jiggers infection?
Jiggers infection.
Jiggers is a parasite that's found in, it's common here in Kenya.
Okay, yes. The jiggers. and that they are on the skin and they itch. Is that right?
Yeah, they're mostly in the toes. They mostly
Pardon?
affect people. They mostly affect people's toes.
Toes.
Yeah.
Because I have had chiggers here, and I had about 6 little bites on my legs, and I very successfully treated it with ice. And I would ice it often twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. So whenever it itched, I just applied ice. And the whole problem was resolved within a matter of weeks. And I was told I'd be scratching for months. And yet in a couple of weeks, I was able to conquer it just with ice. Ice is the best anti-inflammatory, I believe, that God has given us.
And we have, it's now 8:07. We have 1 minute for questions. What can you advise on fungal infection treatment on the skin?
On fungal infection treatment, if it's in the toes, the apple cider vinegar is very good. Also soaking in a mix of sodium bicarbonate and water. So the amount would be 4 teaspoons of sodium bicarb to 1 litre or 1 quart of water. So you would soak the area in that, but it has to be addressed from the inside. So it's also very important that all sugars stop, even greatly reduced fruit. You can have lots of vegetables and take a lot of garlic. Garlic's a great fungal killer. So take it on there, put it in your food.
Okay, and there's a final question, but I believe you may probably touch on this in the lifestyle diseases. The question is, how can one manage hypertension?
Yes, the person with the hypertension can Google Barbara O'Neill and heart health, and they'll get a 50-minute presentation, which will give you everything you need to know to conquer hypertension.
Yes, thank you very much. It's now 8 or 9 p.m. Kenyan time. We'll save the question for our next session, which will be held Friday, and on Sunday, that's the 13th of June, we'll have a purely Q&A session where Barbara will just dedicate that session for purely question and answer.
Okay.
We thank you for
thank you.
Session. Thank you for being very practical. Thank you for the effort and the setup. It's been quite a blessing, and I believe everyone here has been blessed. I'll just hand over the session to our youth leader, which is.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I'll hand over to either Nathan or HappyNet for any other comments before we close.
Happy Sabbath. Thank you, Andy, for coordinating the session, and thank you, Barbara, for sharing. I think with that, we've just come to the end of the Vespers. I can take this chance to invite you for tomorrow's fellowship, those who can manage to follow our service online. And then just a reminder that we have the same for the next 2 Fridays. We'll be having the same session going on with different topics. So you are all invited to attend. And then tomorrow at 4 p.m. we'll have a sundowner. The links will be shared. And then all of you, again, those who are willing and are invited to attend. We also like to thank the visitors who have joined us from various parts of the world. I cannot mention all of you, but feel welcomed. We've enjoyed your fellowship with us, and have a blessed Sabbath. Unless Happynet, you want to say something.
Nothing from me. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. God bless you. And thank you, Sister Barbara, for sharing. God bless.
All right, I believe everyone is free to leave. Have a blessed Sabbath.